I love coming to this place, and I don't worry what the weather is. It can be snowing, raining, blowing, or especially good on a bright, clear day as it is today. I'm here in the seaside resort of Porthcawl, and it was a place that has so many very happy memories for me. Ask most people about their childhood memories of Porthcawl, and I bet you they'll mention the building sandcastles, bathing, swimming in one of the beaches, Rest Bay for instance. Perhaps they remember walking along the prom and the wonderful ice cream shops. And of course, when I was a young man, the highlight of the day was to come here to Coney Beach Fairground. Whoa, what excitement that was. When I was a little kid, one of the great delights, one of the enormous pleasures, was to have a ride on the miniature railway, which ran just about from the harbour up towards the fairground. But then, of course, I had no idea how important railways were to the history and the development of this town. It's a very tenuous link, I know, but there is a connection between the miniature railway and this section of rail here, because this is where it all started. The opening of a horse-drawn railway from the Llinvi Valley in 1825. The railway was so important in the development of Mid Glamorgan to become such an industrial giant in the 19th century. It was the first to link the rich mineral resources of the hinterland with wider markets overseas. The Dyffryn Llinvi and Porthcawl Railway very quickly began building a small dock and a jetty at this place, as it was then known as Porthcawl. The early harbour was little more than a tidal basin. The basin today has changed, of course, since those early days, including moving the original entrance that was originally facing towards Coney Beach and could only be accessed for a limited period either side of high tide. There's been a lot of debate about this name Porthcawl, Porthcawl. Where did it come from? Doesn't necessarily mean a bowl of soup, but perhaps it refers to the turbulent, whirling waters that dominate this area in bad weather. A new entrance was built that still provides access into the outer basin. And why is it known as the outer basin? Well, simply because that's what it became after the docks were expanded and a massive new floating dock was built. And this is it. The connection between the outer basin and what was the large floating dock just over the road. And you can clearly see the gateway delineated between the original stonework and the concrete infill. I know it's something of a historical leap of faith, but once this area behind me, this large car park, was once a huge area of water, the floating dock, covering about 7.5 acres, full of boats taking in coal mainly from the trucks that were lined up on a network of sidings that ran right the way up the side of this dock. This fine building behind me, now a complex of restaurants, and it's lovely to see that it has a new use. But this was built in 1832, and it was the warehouse where the goods from the early and later railways were stored before they were loaded onto the boats in the harbour and out onto the breakwater. I think this must be one of the most iconic views of Porthcawl, with this breakwater and the delightful little lighthouse at the end of it. The breakwater was extended in the 1860s, and the lighthouse dates from 1866. It was originally powered by coal gas, but in April 1974 they converted it to natural gas. And what I think is wonderful about Porthcawl is that it was one of the earliest ports in this period in the early part of the 19th century. Goodness me, it even predated Cardiff, Barry and Penarth. everywhere you look just here, there are remains of the industrialization of Porthcawl, from the wonderful coal chutes here to this delightful little building. Not quite sure what it was used for, but I guess it was probably where the checkweigher who registered the loads of coal and iron that was taken down towards the chutes there. What I love about this place is the way that the man-made structures blend so nicely with the natural rock systems, and we have these substantial rock structures which form the breakwater, and then this little chap which has been built of a slightly different material and has weathered from the incredible rain and wind that blows along this coast. It's so nice to be out of the wind for a few minutes in this wonderful establishment here, the lookout station for the National Coast Watch Institute, which are volunteers who provide such an important role in keeping a look along this notorious coastline where there have been so many wrecks throughout history. The first lifeboat station was opened in 1860, and it operated here in Porthcawl until 1902, when the docks finally closed. But their role is so important along this coastline that a new station was opened in 1996. Well, you might think that Porthcawl is an archetypal seaside resort, but it's an incredible town with a fascinating history. But that's another story.